And there are two things that you have to see about the generation phenomenon. First is every generation thinks that it's vastly superior to the one that came before it and vastly superior to the one that comes after. One of the most ancient forms of writing that we have is a Sumerian tablet in which it's quoted, quote, this is from 1000 BC, mind you, today's youth is rotten, evil, godless, and lazy. It will never be what youth used to be, and it will never be able to preserve our culture, end quote. Now that sounds pretty familiar, right? You know, people will say of millennials, oh, you're so soft, you're so pampered, you know, what's wrong with you? But people were saying the same thing about baby boomers and saying about the same thing about Gen Xers. It's human nature. So the next time you hear somebody sort of parade this kind of superiority, which I just basically consider generational narcissism, just tell yourself, it's human nature. People are going to be saying that 1,000 years from now. The second thing you must understand is that the generational phenomenon creates what is called a zeitgeist, a spirit of the times that's critical, absolutely critical for you to understand if you want to be successful in business or whatever. The zeitgeist basically, at any one time, there are 4 generations that are alive. The 22 years, there might be a 5th generation, but they're getting pretty old and they're dying off. So the 2 youngest generations are the ones that are kind of unsettled. They don't like the way the world is. They want to change it. They want to create new values, new fashions, new styles. They're generating all of this energy for change. The 2 older generations want to stop that. They want to hold on to the past. They want to conserve and preserve the traditions that they inherited. And these 2 seismic forces are continually clashing, creating a spirit of the time, a zeitgeist. The other thing is with generations is they follow this incredible pattern that people have discovered, have written about for many years. So there will be a generation that will be known as the revolutionary generation, in which it overturns all of the previous ideas and values and creates a true revolution. This will be followed by a generation that tries to preserve that revolution and kind of turn it into something a little more rational and sane. This will be followed by a very conservative generation that has lost touch with the revolution, but it's just basically all about safety and keeping what happened in the past. This will be followed by a crisis generation, which gets so sick of the stagnant situation and of the values they've inherited that they're very unhappy and dissatisfied. And this leads to the revolutionary generation, on and on and on and on and on. And we can see this cycle continually happening. And people estimate that the generation that is now, like the millennial generation, is a true crisis generation, and I believe that's true. And that what is following is that we're on the verge of another kind of revolution, the kind that happens, they estimate, every 80 or so years, where values are going to be completely overturned, and something new is gestating, something very exciting, and something very different. And so your task, whatever you're creating or whatever you're doing, you have an audience that you must reach. And that audience has a zeitgeist, has a spirit. And this spirit is never stagnant. It's always changing. And you tend to be locked in the past. I like to tend the spirit of the times as a kind of a wave. If you're just behind that wave, if you're not quite up to it, the product, the book that you write, the startup that you create will fail. If it's with that wave, if it's riding with it, you will have some success. If you anticipate that wave, if you're a little bit ahead of it, you will have tremendous success. That is where true power lies. So you must be incredibly sensitive to this phenomenon and not be, your generation will tend to lock you into the past, lock you into certain values and belief systems. You want to let go of them. You want to develop some flow. And you want to be able to develop this kind of very sensitive antennae to what is going on with the younger generations, where true change is fomenting.